good evening, adventurers, and welcome back to the maze. I am the master of mazes, Carl. My son, Stephen, the apprentice.
Howdy,
This
howdy.
is MazeCast episode 13. I
Mm-hmm.
know because it's on the screen in front of me, so I don't screw it up. It's in big red type, so Stephen made sure I got it right this time. This is our holiday special. We
Yep.
are filming this the Saturday before the holidays, so this is December 20th,
Mm-hmm.
the year of our Lord Cthulhu 2025. So shout out to our sponsors, Dubby, the fine folks over at Dubby and the energy drinks they make. We have a link down in our description for you
Mm-hmm.
guys to go over there if you'd like to.
And our
If you
Discord
use
on the
our
website, everywhere.
Discord website, everything, if you use our link, you'll get a discount on your order. So check them out if you would.
Mm-hmm.
Great stuff. So what's new here at the Maze Cast? Well, we had our Dagger Heart session session three last night. It's actually our fourth session. We had a session zero, but we had a pretty good time last night. We'll have some pictures going up of the terrain that I set up for the encounter they started out with last night. I'll go through a recap. I'll have that up tomorrow sometime for you guys. So we'll have the link on our website and we'll have a link on all of our socials for you guys to check it out. We had a pretty good time. Uh, and then we'll let you know how that ended. Our party decided at the end of the night to kind of sit down and discuss where do we go from here? Do we continue with Daggerheart? Do we do something else? So if you want to know where we're going next, go ahead and check out that description. It'll be on our website sometime tomorrow after lunchtime Eastern Standard Time. So be on the lookout for that. Other than that, we've got a lot of things to jump into tonight. Stephen was very busy. He came up with so much information. I was kind of overwhelmed when I opened up our Google Drive documents to kind of look and see what we've got going on. But
Mm-hmm.
let's jump right into some TTRPG news and some TCG news. Draw Steel. Everybody who has an ear to the ground at all in the TTRPG community knows
Mm-hmm.
about Draw Steel. That is from MCDM Productions. That is the brainchild of Matt Colville. That's obviously what the MC stands for. Um, Matt has been a Dungeon 2 content creator on the YouTube space for years. He's one of the first people to kind of get into the D&D content creator side of things. He's been giving great DM advice for a long time, but he's also a big homebrew guy. So he created Draw Steel, and that thing got $4.6 million on Kickstarter, which is insane. I mean, that just blew me away how much money he brought in. But good luck to him. I wish him nothing but the best. We'll have a link for that Draw Steel down in the description and the show notes for you guys if you want to check it out if you haven't already done so. Um, Me personally, I did not bag it. Probably not going to play it unless my players show an interest. I'm not a big fan of the mechanic that every single attack is an automatic hit. I think that kind of takes a little bit of the stress and anxiety off the table. But to each their own. If that's for you, more power to you. I don't know that I'll do it, but um, that is something that we'll have in the show notes if you guys are interested.
Mm-hmm.
We are expanding the Apprentice Corner. Stephen, did you want to talk a little bit about that since that is your tome?
Yeah. So I've put out a few posts in the past week or so on there, and I kind of wanted to delve into a post I dropped about a week ago today, about character and skill expression. And this probably plays right into your Daggerheart campaign and a lot of other campaigns on why, playing a class or a character in your own way is more important than playing a class in the most popular way, right? Everybody's played the ranger that uses a bow, and a rogue that uses a knife, and all these other things. Kind of wanted to get, and I think I know your opinion, but this is kind of expanding on a post I made, and we talk about a lot. Whereas, play your character in a unique and fun way for yourself, and don't really worry about doing the most efficient or quote meta way of playing a class, and why that matters. So I'll just say I'll go first. As my point of view is as a player, um, a lot of why I play anything, whether it's video games, tabletop games, card games. I love to use what I consider the road less traveled. Um,
Mm-hmm.
when I play a game like Diablo 4, for instance, or an action RPG in general, um, or Baldur's Gate 3, I'll use that because that fits right into the D&D narrative there. I
Right.
played a bard, but I was subclass as kind of like a thief. And
Okay.
so I was a bard that could use certain illusion magic, and then I was
Hmm.
stealthy. So
Okay.
it's like I'm playing classes that are well known, but I'm playing them with my own spin to them, and kind of in
Right.
a different way. And just for me, that adds a little bit more flavor, but also challenge to myself. If I play a character that is completely min maxed and is good at exactly the thing that I'm doing, it almost takes
Hmm.
away some of the fun, right? It takes away some of the
Right.
challenge. I want to go into a situation, maybe not necessarily knowing how I'm going to get out of it.
Right.
And if I do get out of it, I'm not going to get out of it in a very conventional way.
Right.
So for a player, obviously that's fun for a player like me, but I know for a DM that might be challenging, right? Because that kind of player isn't easy to predict or to counteract with, in a fight. Where if they do something unconventional or weird that you didn't foresee, how does that feel for a DM's perspective where you have a player like that might, obviously it's good to keep you on your toes, but does some
Right.
off the wall stuff. How do you I mean, I'm sure you can, but maybe for a DM that's relatively new, is there any advice you'd have for maybe staying one step ahead of a player that's doing things kind of in an esoteric way?
The easiest advice I would have is, as a DM, you've got to remain flexible.
Mm,
You do want to challenge your players at the table. Uh, I don't really necessarily set up encounters to immediately thwart
mm,
a character or a way a character might approach a situation.
mm,
I try to challenge my players, obviously, but I feel like I try to play the creatures or the encounters the way that they would play out realistically.
mm.
So, like zombies are just going to come at you.
Sure.
Zombies and skeletons are just going to come directly at you
Yeah.
until they're destroyed. But other creatures, orcs, goblins, kobolds, something like that, to think they're going to try to use their strengths to their advantage. Kobolds are going to basically use traps and stuff to narrow you down, control the battlefield, whittle away your resources. Orcs are going to basically, maybe launch arrows and spears and stuff first to try to wound you before they close into damage. Um, I personally, as a DM, I love to see a player that doesn't min max out his character and play his character in the most predictable fashion,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, in a recent game I had with a large party, it was 6 people at the table. Two of them decided to play rogues. One of them was a arcane trickster, and one was a swashbuckler.
Mm-hmm.
If you read those character classes, they both play very differently. They're both rogues, but they have some different flavorings to them. So there's
Mm-hmm.
different ways that theoretically you should play them at the table. But the two of them got together and basically came up with these ways of min maxing. So both of them are going to attack with blades. They're both going to cast Booming Blade so that they can lock you in place. And it was basically like having identical twins at the table because they would use the same. They always led with the same attack. They always cast Booming Blade. Then they would both evade or
So,
use a reaction to dodge. And it's like, if you're going to do that where you're predictable and this particular campaign they were being scried upon,
mm,
the BBEG was scrying on them, was spying on them, was watching what they were doing, and was learning how they behaved. So that particular character, as he put lieutenants and obstacles in his way, he would do so in such a way that he was deliberately going against their usual tactics
mm,
and putting them off their pace, right?
mm,
So I like a character. It's a long-winded way of saying it, and I apologize. I hope you guys are still with us. What I really like to see is a player that takes something and makes it their own.
yeah.
Yes, you could play a bard. Yes, you could play a rogue, but my rogue shouldn't play exactly identical to your rogue.
Yeah.
Your rogue, yeah, there should be character traits. There should be characteristics. There should be life experiences,
mm-hmm.
backgrounds, and things of that nature that make you flavored different.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, we might both use sneak attack, but I try to use stealth to avoid combat,
Right.
whereas you're all the time sneak attacking. So I love to see players that will take something, make it their own,
Mm-hmm.
put their own individual kind of spin on it,
Mm-hmm.
and then bring something unique to that
Well,
class.
and,
That's
and
what I
that's
really like.
what you said kind of hits the nail on the head for me. Is they played two different subclasses of rogue, but they basically played the same character, right? And
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
exact. And it's hard. Well, it's not hard. It's actually easy to fall into that because you go into a scenario and you're like, well, the most efficient way for me to beat this scenario is to use booming blade and then evade.
right,
Well, okay, and if that's the most efficient way, then that's all right. But there's
yeah,
bound to be other ways that you can beat the scenario in a more unique way. And if
right,
people haven't read my article, what I theory crafted was a rogue that played more as like a support class rogue, almost like a
right,
cleric
right,
rogue. But my flavor on it was this rogue uses smoke bombs and traps to kind of bolster his party's presence on the map. So
right,
not necessarily shooting arrows or anything like that, but he's adding layers of defense to his party. And
right.
then my flair was he's also an alchemist, so maybe he has potions or ways that he can buff his allies.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's like a cleric, but with a different flavor, right? Instead of
yeah,
casting spells and boons and stuff like that using holy magic, I'm using man-made traps and smoke bombs and stuff like that to bolster the party the same way. And I could tell you right off the bat, like I've never played a game with a character like that. And all I'm really thinking about is like, how can I support my team without just being a cleric, right? Like that's what everyone
right,
does. So it's like, how
right,
can I do something a little different? And I think a lot of people, again, they want to play the meta class, the meta role, because they want to succeed. And not to plug my apprentice corner again, but I wrote another article that's kind of talking about turn-based games in general, not just video
hmm,
games, but also tabletop games. That is like the perfect whiteboard for you to theory craft these builds that aren't
right,
necessarily S tier, top of the line builds, because it's in a turn-based game. You have a lot more leeway because in between actions, usually you can coordinate with your team, kind of understand what they're doing versus what you're doing, and plan a little more. Whereas, like in a fast-paced game, like a video, like let's say a first-person shooter game, you have to use the
hmm,
best weapon, you have to use the best stuff, you have to use the best everything because you don't have time to stop and think about things. You have to just
right,
go in it and
right,
you're running, running, running. But that's what part of what I loved about Baldur's Gate and what kind of reminded me about how much I love turn-based games. Not only are they more inviting to players that aren't experienced, which is kind of interesting because I feel like new players to D&D or anything like that are intimidated. But in my opinion,
right,
we need to work as a community to change that mentality because
right,
there, in my opinion, if you have a turn-based game and you have somebody new that's never played, it's a perfect scenario for you to say, "Hey, let's talk about what your character has on him. Let's talk about what your character can do in this situation. Let me
right,
let me teach you in this moment."
right,
And to them, it doesn't feel like you're preaching down to them, like, "Hey, you did that wrong. You need to go blah blah blah." To them, it's like in the moment, they're still doing the action as their character, but they're using the knowledge that you
right.
gave them. So I don't want to
And
go on for too long, but I do
I've
think.
actually,
Go ahead.
I've actually seen that at a table.
Yeah, I've seen
Um,
it at your table.
yeah, yeah, we went to Gigabytes today. Gigabytes is probably one of the largest game shops in the area. It's in Marietta, Georgia, not far from here. We stopped by there today to pick up some paints so we could paint some miniatures, the wife and I. And we've been at that game shop many times. We used to game there when we were playing with a group when we first got here. And I've seen players at tables with diverse makeups, where a player who's obviously a more senior player,
Hmm.
somebody who's done this before, somebody who's kind of one of those min maxers, who will give static, verbal static,
Hmm.
to another player at the table because they did something in a way that wasn't wasn't the maximum damage or it wasn't the maximum benefit to the party,
Hmm.
but the player played something the way they wanted to play it,
Hmm.
and this person will jump up at the table and berate them. Well, why did you do it that way? That's stupid. You could have done this and you could have done that. And it's like, okay, it's their character. Let them play it.
Yeah, that
I
is
can
the worst
understand.
mentality to have.
I hate seeing that. I mean, you should be encouraging other players to think outside of the box. It's not always about damage and, doing everything, getting the most DPS every
Hmm.
round. Sometimes I reward players for thinking outside of the box
Hmm.
and for coming up with creative and unique ways to handle a situation, like to get out of combat, to break off a pursuit or something
Hmm.
of that nature. I think those when people think outside the box instead of just leaning into the dice and leaning into the strengths of their character
Hmm.
to solve every problem that you throw at them, I'd much rather see somebody say, "Well, what if I did this?"
Yeah.
DM. Can we step aside? I want to talk to you about something I'd like to try.
Hmm.
You give me your thoughts on it. I encourage that at my table
Yeah.
because
I mean, you know,
I
in
want you to
your
have fun.
in your lifetime as a DM, you've seen how many rangers have you seen get a kill with a bow and arrow? A million, right?
Almost all of them. Almost all
But
of them.
you know, and then but like, how many times have you seen a character with a super unique character that they've built that is unlike anything else do something at 80% efficiency and that stuck out to you? They did
Yeah, I
something
mean,
that, I mean,
it's happened a few times, and
yeah,
I
I mean,
love that. I
and I
love.
remember playing video games where a character or a story or one of my friends did something that was like, you know, was it the most efficient and in like, you know, the best way to do it? No, but he did it in his own way, and that was memorable on its own.
Yeah, like they make fun of the example that immediately leaps to mind is everybody makes fun of the stealth archer build in Skyrim,
It's
right?
OP.
It's OP,
Yeah,
and there's a reason that it's so popular. Is because if I hide in shadows, I move quietly, and I attack from 100 yards
sneak attack
with a powerful
damage.
magic
Yeah.
bow. I'm landing hits before the creature can even re- react. Right?
Yeah.
I prefer like I played in a Pathfinder game last year.
Mm.
It didn't last very long. It only lasted about 5 or 6 sessions before it fell apart because somebody got deployed and somebody else moved away. But I decided I'm going to play a ranger, but I'm going to play a dwarf.
Yeah.
Almost never see a dwarf ranger,
You and I have had
and
that conversation before. I love that
yeah,
archetype. Love it.
I'm like he's a hill dwarf. He's not your typical mountain dwarf
Mm-hmm.
crawling around in tunnels and stuff. He was a hill dwarf, and he was a hunter forager for his
Mm-hmm.
clan, and he used 2 hand axes.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even have a ranged weapon.
Yeah.
He used his hand axes. That's all he had. Hand axes and one dagger. That's it. And I caught a little static at the table from some of the more veteran players. Where's your bow at? I don't need a bow. Just because I'm a ranger doesn't mean I necessarily have a bow. You've watched too much Critical Role with Vexalia, who just used nothing but a bow, or you've watched too much Lord of the Rings, where
Mm-hmm.
every elf's got a bow. No, not necessarily.
Right.
You flavor your character the way you want to flavor your character.
It's
You
the whole
come up with a
point.
concept in your mind of what you want your character to be, and you breathe life into that character,
Mm-hmm.
and that character is going to be whatever you want him to be. If you want a ranger that just uses a bow staff because they don't believe in bladed weapons and they try not to kill, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Play whatever you want to play. If you can sit down as a player and describe it to me and make it sound rational, I'm going to fully support whatever you want to
Yeah,
do
I
with
mean,
that.
it's literally the whole point of the game is to make a character unique to you. And I
Right.
understand uniqueness is hard in a defined game like Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder where there's a rule book, there's a player's handbook that you're pulling this from. However, I can almost promise you that there's thousands of twists and turns that everybody can take depending on their
Right.
own life experience, what they think is cool, the fantasy novels that they read as a kid. You can make the twist. And
Okay.
this push came from that article, but I do think people next time you're rolling a character, instead of taking the safe choice, maybe gamble a little bit.
Yeah.
And I promise you it will pay off. Even if it's not to your party, it'll be to you because you'll know, man, we just survived that fight. I got a crit. I did this cool thing, and I did it
Hmm.
in a way that's not that's not just milk toast, right? You did it in a very cool way.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you'll get more enjoyment out of it. I mean, like I say, with video games, I have more fun even alone doing something on a bit harder of a path because I know that I earned it. I know that I had to maybe give 10 or 20% more effort than the average Joe running the more efficient build. I did the harder thing, and it's not an ego. Every time I talk about this, people think it's an ego thing. It's not an ego thing.
No.
It's just more fun to know that I put in more work and got maybe a similar result, but I came from a completely different way. And I
Right.
think if people gave it a shot, I think they would understand that feeling.
Yeah. We'll have a link for Steven's article that he wrote over on our website in the show notes for you guys to check out.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great article. I highly encourage you to read it.
Thanks.
Let's jump into some Kickstarter and some Backerkit news.
Mm-hmm.
Oathhammer. I've talked about Oathhammer before on the show. I got a notification on Thursday of last week that my Oathhammer rulebook and my kit is on its way. I am super excited for this TTRPG. It is a D6 based system that's basically uh, leans into hex crawling and things of that nature. So it's a little old school in its approach to TTRPGs, and I'm kind of excited for it. I backed it at the High King pledge level. So I've got a PDF, a digital PDF that I've got that I have shared with the apprentice for him to look over. The hardcover rule book, the folded map is coming. It's supposed to be a nice canvas map that's coming. And there's also a Justin Gerard print that was included with it that was unique to the backers at this level. Justin Gerard, as you guys know, I'm a big fan of his art.
His art is so sick.
I have talked about his stuff on the site before. I've got
Mm-hmm.
several pieces of his art hanging in my house in canvas form,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm pretty excited for that. So when we get that, it's supposed to be here on Monday the 22nd. So the next time that we are having a podcast, I will show that book to you guys and show you the things that came with it. I am pretty excited about it. So that's definitely something that's on my radar.
Yep.
Something else that's on our radar, we've talked about our friend John Eisenberg. He is going to be launching his Kickstarter soon for the Veilborn Universe. The Veilborn is going to be a richly layered fantasy world where he is blending mythic storytelling with dark wonder and deep player immersion. Is how he announces that over on the website. So we'll have a link for that Kickstarter in the show notes for you guys to check out. I would highly suggest you guys favorite it and keep an eye on that when it launches. I'm pretty excited for it. I think it's going to be a very interesting magic system that he's talking about for the game. So definitely something that's on our radar that we're going to be looking at. Also coming out, the Gamemaster's Tome of Infinite Treasures. This is going to be a supplement designed for 5e. It is written by a Mr. Philip Reed, and it is going to have over 1,000 prompts to help DMs and Game Masters to craft new magic items and treasure hoards to bring into play at your game table. I'm a big fan of anything that helps take a little bit of prep research off of me. If I can just flip open a book and find something that fits at my table as far as magic items or treasures go, I'm definitely a big fan of that. I have several books that I go to for resources for my campaign research and stuff, for ideas, to try to come up with something new and interesting for my players. So this looks like it's going to be right in that niche for me. So
Yeah.
we will post a link for that
Yeah, I
as
mean,
well.
usually to concoct a story, all you need is like maybe a few ideas, like like some forgotten warren and a sword that belonged to an ancient family, and it's like being a DM or being even somebody that's into fantasy writing in general, you could hear that prompt and go, oh, you know what, I can write a 2-session story right now, boom, 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 just bang it
Right.
out. And I think it's
Right.
important for people that are going to hear like, oh, it's 1,000 prompts and it's some DM help material in the age of generative AI. I think it's most people are going to be like, oh, just go into Chat GPT and type in 5 things. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I don't use AI to help me at work and in my personal life and all over the place. But I do think it's important that you support actual work from actual people.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
if somebody's out there making this, instead of just going into Chat GPT as a DM and going, write me a new campaign, if there's a guy out there that's putting in the blood, sweat, and tears to make a handbook and a resource for DMs, I think it's important to support that. Um,
Absolutely.
I'm
I
not
mean,
I'm
we're
not an
big on
AI
community, and
hater,
that's
but
part of it.
I'm not an AI hater. I understand the technology and the capability that it gives literally every person in the world.
Right.
But I think it's important to support actual people doing actual work when you can. So
Yeah. And speaking of supporting, I'll give a quick shout out to our friends Jim and Alex over at the Old Warlock.
mhm.
They do have a Kickstarter that will be launching. I don't have a date on it yet. I did reach out to Jim. I'm waiting to hear back from him. They want to come on the show at some point in the future and have a sit down
Anytime.
with us and talk about the Old Warlock, talk about their Kickstarter that's going to be coming out soon. We're pretty excited about that. Expedition to the Forest of Moon. That one's been on my radar for a while. It's just there's been some delays and stuff, some personal things going on with the guys that have kind of caused them to put it on the back burner, but that is in the works. So we will keep you guys posted on that as well. So,
And our next
Steve,
point, yeah, I wanted to draw like a quick. I know we talked about draw steel earlier. I did want to shout out here in this Kickstarter section, even a lot of their stuff is on Kickstarter. But
oh
for
yeah,
people that aren't into the draw steel universe, MCDM also does a bunch of D&D supplement stuff.
they
So
do, yeah.
I didn't even find that until I was looking on Kickstarter, and then I linked to their creator page. They have a ton of stuff there, so I wanted to drop. I mean, I know Draw Steel and MCDM in general are a huge creator, and they don't need any help from me. But I did want to
They really
say,
don't.
for D&D, they do have a bunch of. I think that's really where they kind of got their legs under them
That's
was
where they
doing
got their
D&D
start.
content.
Yeah.
So I did want to
Yeah.
just do a quick note there that they have a bunch of D&D supplements out there too. So if
Hmm.
Drawsteel isn't on your radar, then maybe just check out their D&D stuff.
Yeah, and check out, they've got something up on Backerkit right now called Crack the Sun, which is going to
Oh
be a
yeah,
module for Draw Steel.
that looks
Um,
huge, huge.
that thing has already made, as of about 20 minutes ago, as I was going over show notes with the Apprentice,
Mm-hmm.
it has already hit
Yeah,
$1,878,743 on
honestly, I don't
play.
even know if like new module does it justice. This is like a new addition to the game. They're calling it a module, but like they're
I'm
changing whole
Yeah,
features about the game in this. Like
yeah. It looks like to me almost like a.
it's an
It almost looks
addition.
like a supplement.
It's
It
an
looks like a
addition.
supplement
Yeah.
more than a module. So yeah, definitely check that out. I'm not a Matt Colville hater. I like Matt Colville. I've watched his videos in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I wish him and MCDM nothing but the best of luck with everything they do. It's just for me, it's just Draw Steel doesn't sound like my bag. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I love to report news and I love to share with the community. So there you go.
Yeah.
We've got some movie, game, and pop culture news.
Mm-hmm.
There is the Temple of Elemental Evil. A lot of you old grognards and older players or older edition players are familiar with the Temple of Elemental Evil. Stephen, why don't you talk to us about what's going on there?
So the people that are working on this, I don't know if it's a reboot or however you want to word it, but
Mhm.
it's the Fallout creator of the original Fallout IP creator.
Mhm.
He's dropping the 22-year-old IP, the Temple of Elemental Evil, on Steam as a PC game. And
Right.
it looks to be like a complete overhaul and reboot of that game that was out a while ago, obviously 22 years ago.
Right.
And it looks super fun. It looks like a retro dungeon crawly style game.
Mhm.
Really fun looking graphics. Um, Anytime I can get somebody tied to, well, obviously it's Fallout, which I love Fallout. But the
Oh, yeah.
Temple of Elemental Evil IP is an older kind of, like I said, old school dungeon crawler style game, and I feel like that style game is overshadowed by just these hype beast games like Fortnite and Call of Duty. So
Yeah.
like a lot of these small, and I see the gaming space. The more that we do this project, the more I realize the gaming space is falling prey to the same thing that like a lot of this like tabletop RPG stuff is falling to, where like the
Mhm.
big home run we've had was Baldur's Gate. There
Right.
is 100 other games out there, maybe not as good as Baldur's Gate, but still very good, that
Right.
people don't even know about because it's
Right.
buried on the Steam pages and in the Game Informer magazine, which just doesn't exist anymore. It shows you how old I am.
Right.
But like all these games they're just buried under all these other like flavor of the month games that come out that are hyped up by streamers, and these games like Temple of Elemental Evil or some games that I'll talk about either later in this segment or in other episodes that I truly love just aren't seen. So
Yeah.
Dad brought this game up to me, and I started digging into it. It's a Fallout creator, which is awesome, and this is a 22-year-old D&D game that's finally coming out to Steam. It's never been on Steam before. It's been rebooted and refreshed on a new engine, but they kind of kept that old retro feel.
Yep.
And I don't know how many people are going to
And
play this. I know I'm going to play it, and
I'm
it
gonna
looks
play it.
very fun.
The biggest thing I'm looking forward to, because I played it when it first came out,
Hmm.
it was buggy.
Yeah,
Anybody
yeah,
that
yeah.
played it back when it first came out knows it was buggy. It had issues,
Hmm.
and that was the biggest complaint. Everybody was super excited for it, especially since it was based on Gary Gygax's Temple of Elemental Evil.
Hmm.
It's just it had so many bugs. It kind of took away some of the enthusiasm and the fun play. But supposedly he's fixed all these issues. So I am looking forward to playing it, sitting down and playing it again, and going through a game that is, if not bug free, pretty as close to bug free as he can make it.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely looking forward to it. And
Yeah,
I
it
think,
actually it came out 10 days
yeah,
ago. By the way,
yeah,
it's out, and it's only what $10. It's $9. So
$9.
like why not drop $9 on a classic D&D IP game and just go pick it up, try it. It's $9. I mean, that's literally less than a McDonald's meal. You can support a classic, a name in the genre. Um, that's exactly why we're here. It's exactly what we're trying to
And
promote.
I'm going to interject here real quick. I know
Do it.
we're running along, but we're talking about the Fallout IP
Yeah.
creator. The Fallout series. If you guys are not watching it, holy cow, are you missing out?
I
Um,
haven't seen one episode of the new season yet. I need to watch it.
well, I'm not going to ruin it for you, but we have watched episode one. I'm trying to get the wife to sit down with me tonight, or later tonight, or tomorrow to watch the second episode.
Mm-hmm.
The first episode is amazing. Um, they're pulling scenes and uh, backdrops right out of the game to put in here for all of us to look at.
From what I've heard, it's basically New Vegas, right? Like they're in New Vegas now.
It's New Vegas,
Right.
but you get to see the great cons, the gang from New Vegas. You get
That's
to see
awesome.
them immediately. You get to see Dinky the dinosaur
Mm-hmm.
at the roadside motel. I thought seeing Dinky was amazing.
Yeah.
But I'm super excited. The first episode it blew me away. I am definitely looking forward to the second episode. It's just I
Yeah.
think it's already trending for me that it's going to be better than the first season. So
It seems like whoever they got to do the writing and that show in general, they're so faithful and they're just so good with the source material. There's just
right,
not any weird, retconning or weird garbage. It's
right,
just they're making a show for the people that love the IP. That's it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I thought that was the Last of Us show until season two, and I don't I did not like season two.
yeah,
And there's just so many times where a show starts out like The Witcher, season one. I
yeah,
started out strong. I was like, wow, this could be
yeah.
it, and then we all know how that went. But while we're on the New Vegas topic, I will say I'm pretty sure I just saw that it was officially announced that a New Vegas remaster is coming
It
out.
is. New Vegas remastered is coming. They're talking about going back and remastering a lot of
I
the
I
old Fallout games,
I
and I'm
pray that it's
super excited.
a full remaster like the Resident Evil games are getting, where it literally is like a whole new game. I don't
Yeah,
know for those people that haven't, aren't Resident Evil fans, which I played the original. I remember Dad playing the original.
yeah.
I've played most of them since. The Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4 remasters are like it's a remaster almost doesn't
It's
even.
almost like a new game,
It's
like you said.
so
Yeah,
like yeah, the Resident Evil 2 was top down and like room by room. The new game is
yeah,
a third person over the shoulder action shooter that looks good. I mean, the story is the same, the characters are the same, but it's like a whole new game. It's unbelievable. And if New
yeah.
Vegas got that kind of Fallout 3 or New Vegas got that kind of remaster, I don't. I would faint. It would be insane.
Yeah.
Um,
It would be.
so next session or
Let's
next
yeah,
section, it's the Game
let's use
Awards.
that to segue into our next section.
Yeah, the Game Awards happened since our last episode. I'm gonna try to rapid fire this as fast as I can because there's a lot here, and
There's a lot.
I didn't even put everything I wanted to put.
You did
Um,
not everything we talked about.
so my Diablo 4 new expansion next year is coming out, and I will say my guess was almost spot on. Um,
Yeah,
if you pre-order, you get the Paladin, who you can now play right now in Season 11.
yeah,
From people like Riker, Rax, Rob, all these like prevalent Diablo 4 content creators. Season
yeah.
11, according to almost everybody, is the best season. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to play it because I've been so busy and it's the holidays and I just haven't had time. But I heard the Paladin is absolutely broken, which I knew would happen. And the season is really, really good. They've added a Christmas event right now where if you're playing right now, there's a certain event that can happen in a dungeon where there's a mythic goblin in the dungeon, and if you kill him, he will drop mythic uniques, which are things that have
Ooh,
only ever been dropped by layer bosses, and it's like one in
nice.
100. Now apparently they're just giving it out. So it's very cool. I'm glad that they're just kind of loosening up and letting players get this power and not having it be like a fairy tale anymore. The
Right.
expansion is going to add. Apparently, the expansion they said will also have a second new character as well, a new class. So they're
Okay.
dropping Paladin now, and we'll have another new character when the expansion drops next year. I think the early bets right now are that it's going to be a demon hunter or a witch doctor, is what I've read online. I
Okay.
love the Diablo 3 witch doctor, so that's very cool. Next game that was announced, or at least on my list, is the Dungeons and Dragons game called Warlock, which is
Warlock.
very interesting.
It
If
looks
you
really
are
interesting.
a D&D fan, video games have not been your friend for a long time. Um, the last D&D game I remember playing was almost like a Dark Souls-esque game,
Yeah.
and I don't even remember what it was called, but it was. I actually thought it was decent, but it did not last very long. This game looks to be a much more, I don't want to say AAA, but much more put together and narrative driven and just by a higher end studio. I can't remember who did the last D&D game, but it was just fair. It was like a party Souls like party hack and
Right.
slash game. This game looks a lot more like a, let's see, what was that game? Dragon Age style, like
Yeah.
narrative driven RPG that I guess you're playing a warlock. I guess you don't really get to choose a class, but
You do not.
the
And it's
powers look really fun. So
yeah, my understanding is it's a solo play. You won't be
it
with a
is.
party.
Yeah.
And it's the one thing that I'm a little hesitant about is the only thing that they showed was cinematics. There was
Mm-hmm.
no gameplay. I'm interested to see what the gameplay looks like
Mm-hmm.
and how that's going to work. You know, especially with warlocks. I mean, you don't get a lot of spell slots,
Yeah.
so you know, is it going to be more intrigue and role play and evasion, or you know, how's that going to work?
To
So
be
I'm kind of
honest,
interested
in
with
my opinion, the game should have like fun combat and spells and stuff like that. But I think they should lean more into a narrative, story-driven game because like it's going to be hard to compete in terms of just straight up combat in games.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I
Baldur's
think
Gate is going to overshadow it. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, Baldur's Gate is just this. I mean, it's the only D&D game I can think of that's been universally praised by everybody. The D&D
right.
game I was thinking about came out in 2021. It was called Dungeons and Dragons: Dark Alliance, and it was like a
Yeah, that was
four-player
just,
co-op hack and
but it
slash.
was so
It,
bad.
it
It was
was, you know, there were some cool things about it that I thought were interesting. The combat was actually kind of punishing. And
yeah,
the story. I mean, once you beat the story, there's nothing else to do. So
right.
if you know, depending on what this Warlock game does, I don't know. But it's interesting that D&D is even on a game. I thought you know after Baldur's Gate 3 smashed it, I didn't think anybody was going to touch that IP for a while, especially after Larian lost it. But anyways, we'll see what happens.
But
Speaking of Larian,
speaking of Larian,
they are since they're not doing Baldur's Gate 4, which I can't roll my eyes enough at that. They
really,
are going back to their IP of Divinity, and it looks like this is going to be a full reboot, just called Divinity.
yeah,
If you haven't seen the trailer for that game, it is probably the best cinematic trailer I think I've ever seen in my life. It is unbelievable. Have you seen it?
I have, and it's amazing. I am
It
pretty excited about this
number
game.
one, I don't know how they showed that at the Game Awards because there are some scenes in that trailer that are like borderline NC-17. So like I don't
Yeah,
know how they showed it.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I don't know either because I watched a podcast, and it was they were talking about you know how did they get that past
oh, I don't know.
you know like sensors and stuff because it was like there was some stuff in it. It
Well,
was pretty jarring. It
yeah,
was pretty jarring.
Larian is from EU, so I wonder if they don't have all of the restrictions. Like if you were an American company trying to get this in,
That's possible.
now they could make it, but I don't know how they showed it at the Game Awards. But anyway,
I don't either. I don't either.
if you haven't played Divinity 1 and 2, Divinity 1 is kind of long in the tooth now, but Divinity 2 Original Sin is still it's new enough where the game still looks really good. I think the player numbers of Divinity 2 since this new game was announced has gone up like 800%.
Right.
Divinity 2, like I said, it's an older game, but people are hyped. I mean, it's in the numbers. You can literally look on Steam and people are playing Divinity 2 again, which that game's always had a cult following, but for the peak
Well,
that it has right now, it's unbelievable.
I can imagine they got a lot of traffic after their announcement at the Game Awards. You
It
know, with the
so
new
yeah, it's
Divinity
this
coming.
game's going on 8 years old, but it still looks incredible. It's on an Engine 1 version behind Baldur's Gate 3, so it's still pretty good. But
Okay.
anyway, that game's coming out. It looks incredible. I cannot wait for it. Speaking in that same vein, Pathfinder's getting a game called The Abomination Vaults.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is actually based on a hardcover book they put out.
it's based on one of their
I
modules.
ran it. The Abomination Vault hardback. I ran that for a Pathfinder 2 game
Mm,
at our local game shop I guess it's been almost 2 years ago now, where we played through the first three levels.
hmm
And it was a lot of fun. It was a very well thought out book. I liked the backstory. I liked the lore. I liked the NPCs. I thought it was really well done.
hmm
So if the RPG is anything like the book was, I'm looking forward to that one.
Well, it's interesting because the other two Pathfinder games, I can't remember the first one, but the second one was called Wrath of the Righteous.
Right.
Those games were Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah, they were turn based, very traditional RPG games. This is actually going to be an action RPG like Diablo 4.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. It was crowdfunded. It's officially on Steam, and they're hoping to compete with D4, Path of Exile, Last Epoch. So to see that shift and going into a full scale action RPG is pretty interesting. So I'll keep my eyes on that. As you know, I'm an ARPG nerd, so I'll keep my eyes on
Yep.
that. Other things, Ashes of Creation, which is the big MMO from Steven Sharif, who, if you've been online, you've seen. You know, they're self-funding this game under their studio. They don't have a publisher. Steven is literally paying for the game out of his pocket,
Right.
or he did to start the studio, start the game, and then has been using, people that buy into early access to fund development. Um, the game came out last week. Feedback was, I'd say, relatively mixed to negative. This
Okay.
game has been in development for a long, long time. I think they were expecting more out of the release of the game, but also, even this guy he has a team of people that he's paying out of his own pocket to build this game, and it's not a studio of 1,000 people like a Blizzard game. This is, I think 100, maybe not even 100 people, and
Right.
they're doing it without a publisher, without a ton of money. So
Hmm.
the game, well, a lot of the content creators I keep my eyes on, they're having fun with the game. They're like, yes, this game is not fully done, but the structure and the bones that are there are promising. So I'd
Okay.
love to see another MMO from America that's like actually doing well. Most MMOs that come out nowadays are Korean games, and like every other Korean game, they're pay to win. They're like just littered with pay to win, gotcha, RNG garbage, where you have to just like play for 1,000 hours or spend $50 every other week to maintain your level, maintain your XP, maintain your, you know, the status quo of the highest level content.
Right.
So I'd love to see an American company just drop a traditional old school MMO that does well. So this could be it. We'll see. Speaking of a traditional RPG-esque game, Fable is
Yeah.
finally getting the reboot.
Thank God.
Um,
I love that game.
Fable 3 is, if I think back to some of the most formative games for me, I still remember asking my dad for 3 games for 1 year at Christmas time. And you probably remember this. It was Left 4 Dead, Fable 3,
Yep.
and Fallout 3. All came out
Right.
at the same Christmas.
They did.
And those 3 games together are some of the most, like, when I think about gaming as a kid, what got me into gaming, what got me into this stuff, Fallout 3 is definitely on that list.
Right.
Um, Left 4 Dead's up there, and Fable's up there. I mean,
Great. Yeah.
Fable's
Great.
one of
Great
those.
FPS. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Fable's one of those, like, it was just such a fun game, and it wasn't like it was like kind of lighthearted enough where it was,
Right.
as a younger kid, I
It wasn't
wasn't like,
super heavy.
yeah, I mean, there wasn't like, I mean, there was monsters and stuff like that, but it wasn't just like over the top, just terrifying things happening. The combat was
Right.
fun. I loved all like, if you were evil, you would look more like a demon, and if you were good, you would look more like an angel. And I
Angelic.
was
Yeah.
talking to Dad about this earlier this week, but I remember as a younger kid getting into a quest where I was saving a young kid from, it's like a witch or some kind of monster, and I tracked it. I mean, this is a side quest. This is not even a main quest. And
Right.
I tracked it to wherever its lair was, and it was like, yeah, I'll let the kid out. And you learn pretty quick that this creature is going to, you cannot fight this creature straight up. It is too powerful.
Right. Right.
And I remember and it was like, oh, I'll let the creature or the kid go, but I'm going to take, for her life, and the kid was like 15 or something, I'm going to make you pay 30 of your years or 40 or just something like that. And you had to choose in the game, do I let this kid die so I can stay like this young hero with all these cool abilities, or do I save the child but I become an older man? And I
Yeah.
remember like, oh my god, is it really, like, no way it's going to let me choose that. Like, something's going to happen, I'm going to get out of it. No. I let the kid went free, and for the rest of my playthrough I was an old fat dude. Just that was it. And that's it. And like, it was just like so jarring because it's like, and I lost a lot of stats. My guy was slower. He didn't have as much stamina because I'm old. And
Yeah.
I beat the game, but like, it was a lot harder. And it's like that choice of that side quest that I didn't have to do stuck with me the entire time. And
And I
now,
like
like,
those things.
and for
I like those choice and consequence
yeah, and for
things.
me that was like, I didn't like, I wanted to play it again, and I did, but I played a completely different character in a completely different way. I think I even played a woman. I went like spellcaster because like I didn't want to do another playthrough as a male character, like a fighter, like I did, because I felt like that was the playthrough that I wanted to remember,
Right.
because it was just like such sacrifice. You don't see that kind of stuff in games where it's like hey, if you
Yeah.
do this, your whole playthrough is going to be completely different forever.
Right.
And so, anyways, I hope when they bring the series back out, they're not afraid to make those risks and kind of do those things that are maybe not a popular choice. I'm sure people are going to rage on Twitter, if they do a quest like that in 2026, they're going to get mad. But I love the balls that it took to have a quest like that in your game. Um,
Yeah, I think that's great.
so we'll see. Last little tidbit I actually just dropped on here today. I think yesterday or the day before, a fun game called No Rest for the Wicked dropped a co-op beta. So No Rest
Yeah.
for the Wicked on the surface looks like Diablo, Path of Exile, just a top-down action RPG. It's what it looks like. But the
Okay.
more that you play it, it's almost like a Dark Souls game, but you're looking top-down.
Okay.
The combat's a lot harder. There's counters, parries, dodge rolling. If an enemy hits you, you could basically die in one hit, two hits tops.
Wow.
Um, and the world's kind of this dark fantasy. The styling is so cool. I would urge anybody that's never heard of it to check out my link in the description. It's going to be to the Steam store, where you can just see a video or some gameplay, or I'll have some in the video, I'm sure too. Um,
Okay.
but just the styling is so interesting and so cool. And it had a cult following when it first came out, and they've dropped content for it, and the developers have been great. Well, eventually they dropped this co-op beta, and number one, that got me instantly hooked, and me and my friends actually played last night. But what makes it even more interesting is that the way that they implemented co-op. It's not just, oh, let me start a new game, play with my friends, and when my friend goes to his game, he's not going to have any of the stuff he helps me get in my game.
Right.
They implemented co-op by dropping a system called the Realm system. So it acts as like its own server. So when I start a new game, I choose to make it a realm. And what that allows is I say, hey, I'm starting this realm, and I want these two buddies to be able to join my realm whenever they want. And
Okay.
that realm is a persistent world that if I'm not on, my buddy Josh could join the realm, and he could kill some monsters and put some stuff in the stash, and it'll be there when I come back. And then
Wow.
we could
Okay.
all three join together and go fight a tough boss. I could get home and Josh is like, yo, I tried to kill this boss by myself. I couldn't get him. We could all get on together and go fight him together.
Okay.
And there's survival, like you have to eat, you have to stay, you have to stay hydrated and eat, and you can get sick and you can get poisoned. You could chop down trees and use a mining pickaxe to refine weapons with certain ore. So it's almost like a survival game mixed with an action RPG mixed with like a Souls-like game. Um,
Okay.
it's very cool. It's an indie game, but honestly, it's got a lot of really cool charm, and the combat's really fun and engaging. There's tons of different weapon styles. There's not really a class system. It's more about how you spec your hero's points and what weapons you have. But anyway, lots of fun. It's kind of an under the radar game. I'd highly recommend it if people want to check it out. I think it's worth looking at.
Link will be in the show notes, guys. Check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's jump into our. We've been doing this now for the past couple of MazeCast, but let's talk about some extra loot.
Mm-hmm.
So, DM's Guide to Stocking Stuffers Part 3. So,
The last
I've got a
edition
couple
to
things.
2025
Yeah,
Christmas.
yeah. I wanted to throw a couple more things in here for the DMs or even just gamers in general on your list. Um, I get pins. I started collecting D&D and gamer pins probably about 2 or 3 years ago. The wife picked me up a gamer pin that she saw at Dragon Con in 2022. And she just saw it. She thought of me and she picked it up for me. She gave it to me. I wore it on my lanyard the rest of the weekend. It is a gelatinous cube.
Mm-hmm.
And I still have that on my desk. And whenever I go to conventions, the conventions always give you a lanyard. I have a bunch of pins that I put on my badge holder and my lanyards. I've got a beholder, I've got a displacer beast, I've got a red dragon, I've got a gold dragon, I've still got that gelatinous cube, I've got like a D20. I've got one that's like I'm the dungeon master, so that's all I need to say. I've got one that says you can certainly try. So little pins like that are kind of neat. It allows your the geek in your life to just kind of fly their geek flag high when they're out and about in the world. So that's an idea for you. Another idea, which is also useful at your game table, D&D 5e uses inspiration coins, or they use inspiration. I actually got some little gold coins that I got in a bag on Amazon. I think it was like $10, and I got like 50 of these coins. And I keep them in my Dungeon Master bag. So when I go and I play, I have those for 5e games. Or if people have luck, I'll give them, I'll give them coins to represent their luck. When they use a luck, they turn it in. That way, they kind of have a visual representation of how many points they have left to use. So
Mm-hmm.
that's always a good idea. And then another thing is grid maps, erasable grid maps. A lot of people will use terrain, some use theater of mind. I find sometimes with combats, especially with larger groups of tables, 5, 6 players, um, sometimes it's easier to have a visual representation on the table with a grid map, even if it's a small one. I've got some that are like 6 by 6. I've got some that are 12 by 24. I've got some big maps that are like 4 foot by 36. But they're erasable, dry erase. You could get those on Amazon as well. And I think I got a set of double-sided maps, 3 map sheets. So I've got like I've got like a regular forested terrain, plains, jungle, a beachfront, desert, and like snowscape in those 3 maps. So I got 6 altogether because they're double-sided. I got those for like $25, and those are 2 foot by 3 foot each. So those are super handy at the table too. So, and not very expensive. So definitely something that you could look at getting your game master or for your game table in general. So.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is new that's coming soon here? We talked a little bit about this last time. We do have some conventions coming up. The apprentice and I are talking about going to Richmond Galaxy Con in March.
Mm-hmm.
So that is still on the table for us. But here in the very few short weeks, since we're coming up on the end of December, we have Atlantic Comic Con coming up in January.
Mm-hmm.
So that we'll have a link for that in the description. That's a big comic book convention here in Atlanta area. I don't really collect comics the way I used to, but I still keep my ear to the ground on those. I still love comics, still love comic book heroes and comic book movies. So it's mostly comics, but there are some games and stuff there. So I'll be checking that out this year. I didn't get to go last year. So I'll definitely attend at least one day in January. And then the very next weekend is Dice and Diversions Con. That's mostly a tabletop role playing game and board game convention. But I like to go check those things out to kind of find some new games that I'm not aware of that I might sit down and play, or maybe something that I could take away from a table and add to my own game table. So I'll be checking out the Dice and Diversions Con in January as well. So we'll have links for both of those to their websites in the show notes for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Recommendations. Stephen has a recommendation he'd like to share with you guys about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Yeah. Just a quick, another kind of game that's been well, maybe not under the radar because I feel like it's doing really well. But a game that maybe not a lot of people have seen or heard of. Warhorse Studios is a game, I believe they're out of Poland, and they made Kingdom Come Deliverance, I think maybe 7-8 years ago, and the second one came out this past February. But it is on sale, so I wanted to give a quick shout out. It's on sale for $30. It is a game you could easily sink hundreds of hours into, and basically think Skyrim but set in a historically accurate medieval Bohemia.
Okay.
So it's got all of the wide openness of a Skyrim, a Witcher 3, but it is from first person perspective, and it's set in a real, historical time period where there's, all kinds of different lords and fiefdoms fighting over control in Bohemia, which in the Poland area, kind of right outside of Germany and stuff, kind of in between what you consider modern day Russia and normal EU on the western side of Europe. So there's a lot of fun, like, regional culture there, and this game allows you to play everything from a chivalrous knight, where you're fighting for a lord, in giant open battles. It's all first person too, so you got to block, you got to strike. Everything is all first person. So it's when you're in a fight, it's as discombobulating as you think it is, because you run in and you're fighting in a line of soldiers, and then a dude's hitting you from behind. So it's hard. The combat is hard, and it's kind of relatively easy to learn, hard to master, which is fun. But what really hooked me is you could be a knight fighting and all this stuff, or you can go all the way down. You could be a thief. You could be a blacksmith. You could be a merchant. You could be, this guy acting in the shadows in politics. You could do all this stuff to basically achieve your end goal in the game. And there is a overarching narrative, but basically how you get from point A to point B at the end of the game is 100% up to you. every character, it's almost like Baldur's Gate 3 level of production. Every character I've talked to is fully voice acted. Um, to the point where like towns will know you and remember you if you go back to a town later on after you've done certain things and become infamous. They'll remember you. So
Okay.
these games, I'm assuming it's just because they're not massive games from huge American studios. They seem to kind of fall under the radar.
Right.
In my opinion, at the Game Awards, Claire Obscure Expedition 33 won Game of the Year, which, by the way, that's a turn-based RPG built by a French studio of like 100 people, and it is a beautiful game.
I've not even heard of it. I'll have to check it out.
If you just watch gameplay of it, if you're into turn-based RPGs, just watch gameplay. Just look up Expedition 33 Combat. Just look it up.
All right.
I knew that game was going to win unless they got screwed somehow, but Kingdom Come Deliverance was in the conversation as well, and if they won, I would have 100% agreed with it as well. The game is beautiful. The graphics are incredible. It is just, for me being a history nerd and like a fantasy nerd, it kind of melds all of it into one game. So it's super interesting. I have a lot of fun with it. I actually the other day I was injured running away from. I'm in a hostile kingdom to my kingdom right now, and I was injured and I ran to this woman's house and she nursed me back to health. And I was out picking herbs to make a potion. Which, by the way, the alchemy in that game is not just a cutscene where you click I have these herbs, click X to craft it. You actually open a cookbook. You have to read the ingredients and how much of each one. You have to get the exact right ingredients. You have to boil your base, whether it's wine or oil or whatever, the exact right amount. You have to it's virtual cooking to make the potion. It's incredible.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool because I like things like that where when you're crafting, you have to actually pay attention.
Yeah, it's like you actually have to do it right. But Kingdom Come is a great series, and the second one seems just as good as the first. But I crafted a poison trap, and when I was out picking herbs instead of making a health potion for myself, I'm like, well, screw that. What if this lady wants to hurt me, or what if she tells the guards I'm around? I'm gonna make poison, and I made poison, and I come back to the house and there's guards at the house and they're like, oh, we know you've got them. We tracked them here. Blah 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 blah. I snuck behind them and I poisoned one dude and stabbed the other dude. And it was just like, and I've seen people online, they go in and just fight him with a sword, or they go in and they bribe them, or they go in and lie to them and tell them that the woman is actually, from another kingdom, and he's trying to bring her to justice. I mean, there's 1,000 ways to do it. And I just, again, in the same vein of like retro RPGs kind of feeling like they're a dying breed, I feel like these games like this, where it's like puts so much agency in the player's hands and lets you kind of play the game how you want, it's almost like that is going out of style, because I feel like players nowadays with a lot of these games, it's just like a very hand-holdy, railroady experience, because they almost are afraid to let a player fail, and then if a player fails, that almost is immediately a bad review online, right? I love seeing these games allow players to have these situations, even bad ones, where they make mistakes and they pay for them, and sometimes it's unpleasant. So anyways, that game gets a lot of really good hype, but not from mainstream, and it's on sale, it's 50% off. If you love Skyrim, I highly suggest it.
Okay, I'll have to check that one out too. That sounds fun. Speaking of fun, we have some more fun questions here as we wind down this episode. We like to end this with some fun questions for you guys. Kind of get you to think, maybe some questions you can share with your friends and family. I came up with a couple this week, and I'm going to throw this out to the apprentice. If you could visit or live in any science fiction based universe, which would it be and why?
That's tough. Any science fiction universe. If I could visit.
Yeah, you don't have to necessarily. If you just wanted to visit, just kind of pop in, check it out, meet some people that maybe from a television series, a book series, something like that. Which one would it be?
Man,
there's a lot of good ones.
Yeah, because there's a few that I'd want to go for different reasons, but I would think.
Just throw one out there.
I think Firefly I would visit.
Okay.
There's just so many cool characters, and like, especially if I could visit, because like seeing a Reaver ship like land on a planet, it'd be like almost like watching a natural disaster happen. But I
Yeah,
wouldn't want to
yeah,
stick around, you know. But like, I'd
yeah.
want to meet all the crew. I'd want to meet, you know, I'd want to see like some of the wars for independence when the Browncoats were fighting the Fed, like the, you know,
The
the shit,
Alliance, yeah.
yeah, the Alliance stuff. And then I think seeing like a Reaver ship in real life would be like, holy shit, that's terrifying. It'd be like the closest thing to seeing a pirate in like ancient times in the real world, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then I would promptly want to leave that universe and never go back.
yeah. I had thought about that because everybody knows I'm a big Firefly fan.
Yeah,
Um, would I live there? Um, I can see some appeal to it.
yeah,
I have some aspects that I share similarities with Mal,
mm,
where I'm not a big fan of society and the way society behaves and the way that people treat each other. So I could totally see getting on a ship and just living out on the fringes of the universe, away from people, and kind of living my life the way I want to live it.
mm-hmm.
But if I had to choose one, I mean, there's so many good ones like The Expanse,
I thought about the
Star Wars.
Expanse too. Yeah, I thought about the
Yes, The
Expanse too.
Expanse is a good one. Star Wars is a good one because who doesn't want to use Jedi mind tricks on people or to pick up something from across the room and levitate it to your hand? Um, but I was watching an episode of Babylon 5 again today, and I like the Babylon 5 universe. I like the fact that it's set. It's kind of a realistic science fiction series to
Mm-hmm.
me in the fact that Earth technology is not as good as like alien technology, but we're out there and
Mm-hmm.
we're meeting people. I'd like to visit that one. I don't know that I'd want to live there. If I had to live somewhere, um, I kind of like the Halo universe.
I thought about that too.
If I was gonna live somewhere, I think I'd want to live in the Halo universe. I
Yeah.
don't know that I'd want to be a Spartan,
Hell no.
but I would definitely be in the UNC, out there fighting the Covenant, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be a lot of fun. So that would probably be it for me. It would probably be the Halo
Yeah, I
universe.
thought for a live
I
option
wish
it'd be Halo or maybe Star Trek because
the
Star Trek the technology's so good
yeah
as in the
the
Federation.
technology is so good, and then exploring space and
Yeah.
strange new worlds and all. Yeah, that's fun. My second question is
Mm-hmm.
BattleTech. I am a longtime BattleTech fan. That spun off from my love of the Robotech and the Macross series.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what drew me to BattleTech immediately was that first box set with the Warhammer on the front, or as we call it in Robotech, the Tomahawk. Um, the BattleTech universe, for those who are aware, is a universe that is full of rich lore. So much lore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, a crazy, crazy amount of lore. Um, if you were in the BattleTech universe, would you pick Clan, Inner Sphere, and if you pick Inner Sphere, which house? Mercenary or Periphery State?
Is this for me?
That's for you.
So
And
I
then I will
can
tell you what I think.
I can answer only what I know.
Okay,
Once
answer
again,
away.
I don't know as much as you in the BattleTech space, but I remember distinctly Ghost Bear, the clan,
Yeah,
which I like bears. I remember that clan. I think it's rad, and most of why is I remember seeing concept art or an artist rendition of a atlas from the Ghost Bear clan with the paint job on it,
hmm,
and to me that's like the most badass mech still is. I just when I
yeah,
think of BattleTech, I think of a Mad Cat or an Atlas is what I think of
yeah.
in my head, and I just thought the Ghost Bear Atlas was the most badass looking mech in the game.
Your
So
your stepmother would be very proud of you.
I it's just what I think of every time.
She is a lifetime clanner. She
Mm-hmm.
would be the first one to call me a filthy freebirth. She loves the Ghost Bear clan.
Mm-hmm.
The Ghost Bears are basically Scandinavian in origin, um, and their concept is family,
Mm-hmm.
right? So my wife Autumn is very big into the Ghost Bear thing. She's got pins. She's even made up a costume for Dragon Con where she goes as a Ghost Bear mech warrior. Um, and the totem mech that they have now is called the Kodiak,
Mm-hmm.
which is like basically they took an atlas and they reworked it and made it look like a big Kodiak bear.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Building around an Ultra AZ-20 as its primary weapon, 6 medium lasers, and then an SRM-6 straight. I mean, it's a brawler, and it's meant for up close and just nasty work. But she would definitely choose Ghost Bear. If I had to choose, I'm a big Inner Sphere nut, always have been. I mean, the books I read and most of what I did before the invasion of the clans was Inner Sphere. So I would say I wouldn't say necessarily Innersphere house though, because of the fact that all of the houses have their good sides, they have their bad sides. Very much like real life politics, that there's no real good guys in the Innersphere. So I would probably be mercenary.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of the Grey Death Legion and a big fan of like the Northwind Highlanders and the Iridani Light Horse. So I would definitely be mercenary, and I would try to hire out to whatever house or what have you I thought was probably in the right on the side of a fight. So that would be what I would choose. But just some cool kind of questions we'd like to ask each other,
Mm-hmm.
kind of get the old nerd juices flowing, and try to pique the interest of some of you guys out there who are watching and listening to us. Kind of get you involved. If you could live in any sci-fi universe, where would you live and why?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're familiar with BattleTech, what side would you choose and why? Just let us know. Drop us a comment. Let us know what you think. We would love to have your guys' engagement. Smash that like button for us if you would. If you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe. Hit that bell icon so you can be notified when we drop new videos like this one. And please share with your friends. Share it on social media and stuff. Let them know we're out here. We'd love to have some more activity, some more interaction from you guys, and kind of get the word out there and share our love of the community, our love of fantasy and science fiction and gaming and video games and stuff with everybody else. There's a big community out there, so we'd love to have more people kind of come in and be a part of our little corner of it. So.
Mm-hmm.
With that, we will leave you guys with these thoughts. Happy holidays to you and your family from the
Mm-hmm.
Maze. However you choose to celebrate it, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Good Yule. Um, However you celebrate, we wish you all the best for you and your family going into the new year. We will be back before the new year with another MazeCast episode
Mm-hmm.
to ring in the new year for you guys. But keep your sword on free, and we can't wait to see you guys back here the next time in the
Yep.
Maze.
Later, guys.
Good night, everybody.